Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bobby DiBiasio, kind enough to join us throughout the season, talking Guardians baseball, talking baseball in general. And Bobby, let's start right there. You and I talked during spring training about the rule changes, and you were excited to see them unfold. I can't wait to see how you are now, a week and a half into the season. From my perspective, I'm loving it. The games are moving along. We're not missing any action. I think it's been wonderful. But your perspective, how are you seeing this thing?
I think it is doing exactly as the commissioner and the competition committee that formed all these new rules was hoping for. And everyone in baseball, general managers, and most every manager, it's doing exactly what they had hoped for. The pace of play, much more crisp baseball that we're watching. Got rid of all the fat, got rid of all the non-baseball stuff of walking around the mound, stepping out of the batter's box, fixing your gloves, or just wanting extra attention or whatever it is. While it hasn't gone absolutely perfectly, no, I don't think anyone had expected that. I think everybody thought there would be hiccups along the way as everybody was learning new rules. I think it's averaging only one pitch clock violation per game, which I think is pretty darn good. And I think once we get into, June, July, people will have settled in and found it very worthwhile. I think the one statistic that really is rather interesting, on opening day alone last year, there were 6 stolen bases in 11 attempts in 2022. This year, with the larger bases, there were 21 stolen bases in 23 attempts. That's just on opening day. And that trend has increased. That the whole idea of the bases going from 15 inches square to 18 inches square to try to promote more action on the base paths, that definitely has worked.
Yeah, I agree, Bobby. And I wanted to talk about action because also the shift was a big part of the rule changes. And I think that has also tightened up the game for baseball. You're seeing guys drive through the middle and driving run home. For example, Miles Straw and some of our guys driving that ball in the right center into the middle, getting the base hit and knocking the hits home. It's no longer strike out or home run. It's becoming baseball again. And I know it's a small sample size, but I'm loving that aspect too of the shift having gone away.
If anyone watching, listening to this, there's a gentleman by the name of Mike Petriello, good Italian boy, at MLB.com. I tried reading it all. It was almost like taking a calculus test, but he's one of the stats gurus that writes articles on all this and really breaks down the batting averages and all the other new statistics to really determine value for an offensive player, barrel to the bat ratio, how many times the ball gets put in play, and that ball that gets put in play results into a hit. Generally, he basically said that the ground ball that we all thought might get through is not getting through. It's the line drive that is really upped in terms of batting average. It's an interesting article. So if people are interested in how these changes are truly affecting the game, I would suggest you go Mike Petriello of MLB.com. Pretty cool article on the first 10, 11 games here of the season and how all that's playing out. Now, I think it was, now I can't remember what game it was. I think it was Kansas City that put their left fielder in short right field because you can shift outfielders.
Oh,
And a bullet was hit to the short right field, ground ball. The guy was going to catch it and throw it to first, and he went and picked up the ball and bobbled it. Now the conversation is you're putting an outfielder over in short right field who has to hurry up because of the distance and the length of throw to get a guy at first. They're not used to catching those kind of ground balls and getting into motion to just throw it to first base instead of the way an outfielder attacks a ground ball to throw to get somebody out at second or at home. And so the guy made an error and it didn't work for him. So they're discussing whether or not moving outfielders around. Of course, they did it to Joey Gallo. And Joey Gallo's the guy that a left-handed hitter who only hits the ball to the right of second base. They one time put 5 fielders to the right of second base for him. But it's interesting. Just love the crispness of play is what we're all enjoying right now.
I agree. Senior VP with the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, with us here on 93.5, 1590 WAKR and WAKR.net. Bobby, let me ask you this. You've probably heard words or even talked to Tito about this. What about managing with these rule changes? There's more on his plate. How has that gone from the managerial aspect?
Well, I think, you put the running game in your brain a little bit. Let's be aggressive. Let's get after it. I mean, we were a team that ranked 3rd in stolen bases in Major League Baseball last year, 2nd in the American League. So we ran anyway, even with the smaller bases. And so I think it's in his mindset to begin with. There are still analytics that are utilized for positioning of your infield. For example, you'll see Ahmed Rosario standing right next to second base. Or Andres, shading towards second base. I mean, there's still analytics in terms of if the pitcher throws a certain pitch exactly where he's supposed to, 80 to 90% of the time, that hitter is going to hit it at that spot. So let's position our fielders in that spot. That's what analytics is obviously brought to the game of baseball. In the old days, it was the mental approach saying, a pitcher said, if I throw a breaking ball to Rocky Colavito, he's going to do X with it. And so let's position our players accordingly. So I think it isn't changing a whole lot in the way we go about it, because we were a team that put the bat on the ball and didn't try for home runs and strike out a lot, and we ran the bases aggressively. So I think we're a step ahead of I think most clubs.
Yeah, I agree. I talked to Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff during the winter season, and they both agreed. They thought that they were a little bit ahead of the ball, and they thought that the organization was in good shape with all the rule changes. And I agree 100%. You mentioned Andrés Giménez a second ago. We inked him to a contract extension. And Bobby, I think he is quickly becoming one of the best infielders, not only in the American League and baseball. You talk about his spray chart at the plate. He's hitting it all over the yard. His glove has always been there, and we've got him locked up. This guy, an all-star season a year ago, is building and coming out of the gate strong again.
This young man has an opportunity to be as talented and impactful as Robbie Alomar. And that's saying a lot. Robbie, a Hall of Famer, one of the most instinctive, incredible, athletic middle infielders, I think, in the history of baseball. I mean, just beautiful the way he played the game of baseball. And Andrés Giménez, he started at shortstop in the World Baseball Classic for Venezuela and played expertly there. And he is an all-star Gold Glove second baseman, in addition to being a guy that can hit. I think Tito has said it, that he believes he's the best second baseman in baseball. To tie him up, I mean, again, what Chris and Cherney have done in our franchise, and the sustained winning culture that's built, with Tito and Paul Dolan at the helm, is pretty special and should certainly be celebrated. To have both Jose and Andres inked for that period of time, we've got two of the premier infielders in the game of baseball that will really be the core of this baseball team.
Hey, Bobby, Senior VP of the Cleveland Guardians, Bob DiBiasio, joins us each and every week on WAKR and WAKR.net, brought to you by our good friends at Nika IBEW. My friend, thanks for the visit again. We'll reconnect next week. Thanks for the time with us.
Thank you, Ray. Go Guardians.